Coaching Podcast. Wow. Wasn't it good?
Yeah, let's delete that.
Let's restart. How you doing, Josh?
I'm good, man. Good morning. Just got done working out with the 9 a.m. group. You got done coaching the 9 a.m. group.
Coach my heart
How
out.
did I do? What's a bright spot for what you saw in my workout as my coach today?
And so you did
The 8-rounder.
the 8 rounds for time. A couple weeks ago, you did the 6 rounds for time, and you start a new round about every 2:15. And so today I told you you could probably start a new round every 2 and do this under 16 minutes, no problem. And you said, I don't know, the ring rows add up. And you finished at 14:44 today.
14:44.
So underneath the 15-minute mark.
Yeah.
So
I thought I might actually get close to the 14-minute mark, but the couple of breaks that I took in the ring rows in the later rounds, you don't think that they take a lot of time, but man, do they ever add up.
Yeah, so I think your bright spot is just you executed well, and I think that you're building some serious capacity in those ring rows, which is going to translate really well over into the next block when we do some pull-ups, because we've been working on upper body pulling.
Yeah.
Progression.
Yeah, so that would actually be a good announcement. The new block of training starts next week.
Yeah.
And we are going to take it into some pull-ups and verticals, some more building on the vertical pulling that we've been doing. So we're going to be doing some traditional, what would be considered traditional pulling, upper body pulling with the pull-up. So pretty excited about that. We were talking about this yesterday. Was it? No, maybe it was Monday on that longer duration workout where it was like 4 strict pull-ups every time, and it's just not like that big of a challenge.
Yeah.
You know? And not to say that I felt like I needed to be doing more, but just to say that, you know, I know that it's going to translate to, you know, strength and shoulder health long term. So yeah, it was pretty pumped.
It's funny, some people at 5 p.m. were saying the same thing. You know, I overheard some conversation in the middle of a workout, and because it was an EMOM, so they got some rest, and so they were like, man, this is a lot of pull-ups. And I'm like, yeah, it is a lot of pull-ups. When I first looked at it, this is what they were saying, when I first looked at it, I didn't think I'd be able to do all of them, you know, 21 or 24 or 28 strict pull-ups in one workout. They're like, this is the most I've ever done. And it's like, it's not even like we're doing huge sets, you know? It's like, okay, let's just accumulate some volume, build some strength as we traditionally would. They'd work their way up to doing the 28, or it ended up being, I think, a max of 32 if you got to the final one. So we coupled that with some seated banded pull downs, some hollow arches. It's like, okay, now let's take it into some of our traditional like pull-ups that we'll be seeing next week. Not to give too much away, but
yeah, no, it's good.
And then we can progress that.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad to let the people know what is coming. So we didn't even say good morning to all of our viewers, of which we have hundreds of thousands of people viewing right now.
Hundreds of thousands. I thought when we would change our podcast icon, when you sent me that new
it's good,
logo,
isn't it?
It's really good. It looks professional.
If people, if people have not seen that, you should definitely just go check out the audio-only version. It's in 3 different places, like Apple, Buzzsprout, and SoundCloud.
Yep.
And look at the new icon there. It's kind of spooky, but it turned out very well. I'm very happy with that. So I would like to thank a couple of our people that are not sponsoring us today. I guess this would technically be a sponsor. It's 2 Brain Coaching. Nike. Nike is not sponsoring us. Nature Valley granola bars are not sponsoring us.
Right.
And Blender Bottle. Shout out to Blender Bottle for not sponsoring us either.
Blender Bottle.
And then you got someone not sponsoring over there?
Yeah, Trade Quest clipboards.
The Lane 4 clipboard.
Yeah, the Lane 4. This is from the original Gauntlet.
Really?
Maybe this is from the second Gauntlet.
Okay, good deal.
It's from a Gauntlet that we did.
Awesome.
And let's see, who else? Who makes this? Ali Espinosa's 3-compartment container. That is for you from...
I don't know, but they're not sponsoring.
I think it's an Amazon Basics one.
Yeah.
I think it's an Amazon one. So
cool. So I got just about an hour from now is when I gotta be off of the air to go on the air elsewhere. So
good, because we only have a few listener questions.
Cool.
Oh, we have a third one yet.
yeah. So past events, the 5K trail run went amazingly this past Sunday.
It went all right.
I mean, I don't know how it went for everybody else, but personally, selfishly, it went very well. No, I was pumped. I had almost a 4-minute PR on that thing.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Because you haven't been running.
no, I mean we definitely have.
I mean,
yeah.
running in the sense that like you haven't been training for the 5K.
No, literally the last time that I ran that far was last year at the
Yeah.
trail run. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, so that was pretty cool. And like we said leading up to it, I really wish, as just a whole ton of people would get involved in it. It's such a fun time. It's so different. And the couple of people that we had join us this year that had never done it or that didn't do it the year before, they said the same thing about it's just so much more enjoyable or actually enjoyable to run when you're on a trail. And it's just different than just going and running a 5. Because typically, I mean, I was probably like this too. When you hear 5K, I'm not running 3.1 miles anywhere. But through the trails, ups and downs, just the different terrain, was a really, really cool time. So
yeah, it was fun.
I did see they sent an email out a day or two ago with links to the pictures. By the way, I don't know if you saw them, but I saw you in some of the pictures. Anyways, they're thinking about moving it to a little bit later in the year, so like a MLK Day or maybe even sometime in May or something like that. So.
Wow.
That would be warm.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't look to PR by another 4 minutes, whenever the weather's hotter. But the weather was perfect. It wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. So really, really good time.
Yeah.
So thank you to everybody that came out and ran that with us. We ended up having a really good group. So
yeah, we gotta post some pictures about that.
Cool.
Make sure, because if we don't post the pictures, it never happens.
It never happened. That's right. It never happened. Man, imagine that. Before 2005, there just wasn't ever any history. No. Because nobody posted it anywhere to brag about it.
Yeah, history started 16 years ago.
Yeah. So current events or upcoming events, the gym will be closed on Saturday, February 13th. We are hosting another two-brain meetup. This is just an opportunity for us to host a bunch of gym owners kind of in the greater Southeast area. So we are going to play host to all these guys and kind of pour into them, help them grow, help them be successful long term. So that's always an exciting opportunity for us to do that. And then we will have the Snatch Clinic with Coach Gene, on Saturday, February 27th from 11 to 1. So we will still have the Saturday class on the 27th, and then we will also have the Snatch Clinic from 11 to 1 after that.
Got it.
And then the Open starts a couple weeks after that, but we'll talk more about that maybe next week.
Yeah, we'll detail that. That is, I mean, it's nothing crazy if you've been here for it.
Yeah, same deal.
Yeah, same exact stuff going
Same
on.
deal. Are you looking for something to write down your timestamps?
Yeah,
I can see
totally
you.
Forgot.
I know on audio only you don't see what's going on, but Mark's having a mini anxiety attack with his left-handed writing. So one thing while Mark is doing this, I'll just detail for the listeners and the viewers. I just learned that Mark is not an ambi eater. Yeah. So for those that don't know what that is, ambi eaters are people that can eat with their left or right hand, with utensils in their left or right hand. I can do that. Mark apparently cannot.
Can't do that.
So
if you ask me to cut steak with my left hand, because I'm left-handed, so the fork goes there. If you ask me to cut steak with my left hand, it's over.
It's not. You might as well just stab the steak and then put it into your mouth.
Sometimes I do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
everyone's like, "Do you eat like that at other people's houses?" I'm like,
yeah,
no, but
of course.
I'm at my house, so I'm gonna eat how I want.
Why wouldn't you eat how you want wherever you go? Or do you care what other people think?
Then I would look like an animal.
And then it would look bad on Pam.
I think
it actually wouldn't look bad on you. They'd be like, "Man,
yeah,
Pam really went wrong somewhere on teaching this boy how to eat."
Yeah, pretty much. There have been times where I've been like, if I get comfortable somewhere, I'm just gonna eat how I want.
Yeah.
Like, if they got something to say, take it up with me.
Yeah, take it up with Pam.
People probably think I'm an animal anyway, even when I eat with proper manners because of how much I eat. It's just like, wow, he
You
ate
do
all that.
consume a lot of food.
Dude, I eat a lot.
Yeah.
You know I can eat. So.
Except you can't finish a whole plate of Mexican food at your favorite place, so that's a disappointment. But you know.
We know there are chips and queso there.
Yeah.
There's an asterisk.
Real quick, so Mandy and I have date night next week, and that's where we're gonna go for our date night. That Mexican joint, the one in Apollo Beach. No, isn't that Mikasa?
Mikasa is in Riverview or Apollo Beach.
Yeah.
That area is the same.
Yeah.
I ate at the one I sent you guys a picture was.
That's in Lakeland.
That's
right?
in Lakeland, Abuelos. If you want to make the trip, dude, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
We're gonna go there first.
Mikasa.
Yes.
Yeah, Mikasa's really good.
Also, quick update. I finished my first book of the new year, Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights. I know I told you that, but really good book. It was interesting. The intro, the first couple pages was like, it was okay. And then it was the rare book where it really builds over time. So if somebody is thinking that they might want to have a good read about McConaughey, learn a little bit more about him, definitely worth it. Great book in the end. If you would rather have him read the book to you, hear his voice, you have two options. You can either do it on Audible, or you can buy the physical book, bring it into the 5 p.m. class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and have Adam read it to you, and it will sound just like McConaughey.
It'd be the same thing. Man, I would pay doubly the amount, triply the amount for the Audible version of McConaughey reading it.
Yeah.
That'd be. I'd probably take a nap.
Just go to sleep.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into these questions.
Yeah.
Interestingly, before we get into this first question, did you hear the news that Matt Fraser is retiring?
Yeah.
So let me just share my favorite part about what he said, because I think it'll tell the story.
Yeah.
You know, when we get into this first listener question, he's talking about why he made this decision. And then he says, but now I'm ready to make decisions based on how they affect my family, my friends, my health, and happiness. Interesting.
I'll just let that sit and marinate for you people.
Yeah, let it sit, because I think there's a way to phrase what I want to say without offending I don't want to offend anybody, without potentially offending too many people. But basically, let it sit with you and then think, if the best in the world is saying that about training in a certain sport, just think about that. I was going to say, I wasn't even going to direct it towards anybody. If the best in the world is saying that's what he wants to do. He wants to put focus in his friends, family, and happiness.
And health. Right.
And he's supposedly the fittest in the world, and health is in there too. So just let it fester. Let it sit there for a little bit.
Yeah. Cool.
So the first listener question, this is branching off of what we were talking about last week. Because you dropped a bomb.
Yeah.
And it sprung up some questions. And the bomb was, we are not athletes.
No.
We are, someone said to me this weekend, fitness enthusiasts, which is a pretty good word.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good tagline. We are very fit people.
Yes.
We're fit people. We're people who work out. We are active, I think is what you said, which I like. We're just active people.
Yes. We are active, not athletes.
So this question came up. Is Jay Bradley an athlete?
Yes.
So for those that don't know, just about everybody that listens knows, but Jay Bradley, Masters, CrossFit Games athlete. His best finish at the games was 4th in the world.
In 2016.
In 2016. So he was 4th
in the world.
In the whole world.
Right.
And this person asked, is Jay Bradley an athlete? Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I know where this question comes from, because it's the okay. Let me drum up a potential poke a potential hole into your argument about us regular people not being athletes, in the sense of that you are doing this, and I laid this out, the 4 P's of what athletes care about, which is points, podium, prizes, and pain, right? those are the things that go along with being an athlete. You don't care about anything else. Okay? We just shared, something about Fraser deciding to retire from being a competitive athlete. And I know the question really stems from, oh, well, you said, if you don't get paid, if that's not how you put food on your table. So what you have to understand is that is a very gross generalization to paint a big, clear picture for people when they are trying to decide, oh, well, should I have the mentality of an athlete, or should I think of myself as an athlete? I like to do the occasional, weekend throwdown. I find out that something's coming up in a couple of weeks and I'm going to go out and do that. That does not mean that you are an athlete. That means that you are somebody who is active and takes an interest in doing things that fitness enthusiasts do. No one would presume to call you an athlete if you ran all of the Ragnar races or the Spartan races, or if you did Tough Mudder. Like when we've done Tough Mudder annually for several years, nobody presumed to say that, well, I'm an athlete. So I don't know why the notion that because you come in and do CrossFit or functional fitness or anything like that, that you get into this mindset. But if you are supremely focused, like Fraser actually detailed really beautifully in his article, on your craft, on the sport, and the intentions, and maybe that's the best way to describe it, is what is your intention? Well, guess what? And I've said this numerous times. I've only ever had one person sit down with me and say, I want to do this sport thing and pursue it to the highest level. Everybody else, and I can show you all the intake forms, of doing this for 10 years now with the gym being open and almost 20 years of being a coach. Everybody else had different intentions for why they walked in.
And that one person was?
Jay Bradley.
Right.
He said from the very first communication, I still have the email and I go back and look at it annually. He emailed me initially and said, hi, my name is Jay, this is how old I am, this is my training age, this is my history, all this kind of stuff. I want to make it to the CrossFit Games. That it was known from the outset. And so, we have developed this beautiful, coach-athlete relationship where that is the goal. Everything that we do is not for, this weekend competition that came up, this thing that just looks fun. It is for one thing, and it is to make it to and win at the games. Period. End of discussion with that. Now, I do want to go in and highlight a couple of more things for people, because I'm sure that maybe there's the individual that's like, oh man, Fraser's retiring, the door's open. No, but that's just very tongue-in-cheek. But so number one, and I wrote down some notes because I wanted to make sure that I cover these things. Number one, is he an athlete? Yes. Why? Okay. Number one, nothing gets in the way of his training and his focus on progressing. Nothing. Not holidays, not travel, not dinner parties, nothing. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get it done. And I have this block of time, and I've got 60 to 75 minutes, and I've got to get all my training done in that block of time. And I'm only going to do what it is that my coach wrote for me, because there is a trust in the relationship and in the plan that we have collaboratively worked together to do. Okay? So, number two, he's supremely focused on the process and not the day-to-day difficulties. Meaning, training doesn't go his way, or maybe he wasn't able to lift a specific weight that he had in his head that day. He's not immediately looking for another coach or another program or another solution, or complaining, or saying, well, this isn't working, I've got to go do something else. It is a supreme focus and trust in the process, not in the day-to-day difficulties. So he's looking, down the horizon. Number three, every single day for almost 10 years now, he has reported back highly detailed notes to me, his coach, to allow current results to inform and influence all of his upcoming training.
every day. And this is a term that he grabbed from the military. It's called an AAR, an After Action Report, which I know you're familiar with because when I was doing your individual programming, you did the same thing. And there's a lot of awareness and a lot of thought that goes into these. And so every single day for 10 years times, he works out 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, you know, so 250 times 10, so 2,500 different AARs that I have, give or take a few, right?
I think people would be so shocked to read, like you said, you used to program for me, read one of mine or read one of Jay's AARs because it's exhausting to read if you're not used to it or not accustomed to it, because it's not like you ask someone after a workout today, you know, how'd it go? Oh, you know, it went good. Felt like I did really well on the rower and then I was able to push the box jumps. It's like, hey, there were 15 reps on the ring rows. On the 8th rep in the 4th round, I felt this in my right bicep. Like I felt this, it's like that, right? It's this very detailed, exhaustive, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but you know, very, very detailed report of what happened because that's what it needs to be.
Yep.
Sorry, I just
No, that's good. So that was number 3. Number 4 is we collaborate with one another at the end of each block and establish new goals. So case in point, we have for years pushed this notion that people need to come in, meet with their coach, set goals. And I don't care if you don't like the term goals, call it whatever you want. Benchmarks, beacons, Jay and I, you know, use the term goals, but we look back and say, okay, this is the thing that we're working towards. This is the plan that we just got done executing for the previous 4 to 6 weeks. What went well? What didn't go so well? What do we need to do going forward? Okay? And that's hugely important because, again, we're taking not just the daily AARs that he's sending in, but we're taking the weeks and weeks of stuff that we have learned in that block of training and using that also to inform and influence what we've got coming up. So there have been times, matter of fact, I just gave him a workout, I think he did it yesterday, that had power cleans, like 3 power cleans every round at like 185. And he said, man, that was unbelievably heavy. I did not expect that barbell would feel that heavy because he's power clean 245 before, and he used to be able to rep 215. Wouldn't be an issue for him to do in the middle of a workout. Does he freak out and jump off a cliff or go to find another program or interview another coach or do any of those things? No. It's just he's reporting that back to me, and guess what? I said, before I repeat what I said, the other thing that he said is, on the flip side, when he gets onto the assault bike, he's like, it's not a problem to knock out 12 calories in X amount of time because we have been doing a lot more work on the aerobic side of things because as he ages up into the new division this year, his performance is going to hinge more on his ability to be more aerobically inclined than powerful and strong. So that's what I told him, which he knows, but it's still important for the coach to explain, hey, what's going on. So I told him, I said, yep, that, you know, would make sense that all this training that we have done some absolute strength training combined with aerobic work, but a lot less what we would call speed strength work with the clean or the snatch or something like that. Excuse me, but what we do know historically, because of the 10 years or so, give or take, that we've been working together, is that stuff is going to come back much, much easier than trying to build a bigger aerobic base in the last couple of weeks of training.
Yeah.
So that's how, the time that we spend together collaborating on, you know, what he feels, what he thinks that we need to work on, what we don't need to work on so much. It's not just me dictating to him, it's also him dictating to me, hey, this is what I think, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I feel, and we come up with a plan together, and then my role is to hold him accountable to make these small minor adjustments day by day, week by week, month by month. Number 5, this is a huge, huge, huge one, is there is a difference between training and testing. Okay? In Jay's case, testing happens 4, 5, 6 times a year. If he makes it to the games, it happens another time. But let's just say that That's the goal, is to make it there. But we have to actually pass through the gates to get there. So his tests are actually, I'm sure most people are thinking, oh yeah, his test is the open. No. And what I'm about to say, I mean, but I don't mean. It's kind of like, tongue in cheek. If you're concerned about the open, you're not an athlete. Because they are not. 6 years ago, yes, the open was like it. Now, the sport and the game has advanced so far beyond that if you are truly concerned with that, you have a long, long, long way to go. I don't really mean that in the sense that people will probably take it. But anyways, his test is not the open. So we will continue to train through it just like we normally would. His tests are going to be the master's qualifiers to maximize his physical output for those. Let's just presume that it's going to be 4 to 5 workouts, which, by the way, have to be done over a 4-day span. So everything else, the entire rest of the year, is all about training. Training to be the best that he can possibly be on those 4 workouts. So training really comprises, I said 95 to 99% of the year. It's probably like 99% of the year. Because what's 5 divided by 250? So he's going to do 250 workouts over the course of the year, and only 5 of them are actual like big testers.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing to think about when I say that is he is only going to the well, meaning killing himself to do great in a workout those 4 or 5 times. So if you were the person who is dying on the floor after, let's say you work out 5-6 days a week, in 5 or 6 days you are dying, you're trying to test every day, and you're never going to get past a certain point.
Yep.
You're playing the survival game. You're not actually teaching your body how to progress and thrive. That's not the athlete. NFL football players don't go ham, every single practice, every single day of the year. They do it 16 times a year. If they make it to the playoffs, they do it another couple times.
Yeah.
That's it. That's an athlete. And then last one is he's earned it. He's got a jersey up on the wall. I've got a bunch at my house. He's got his nameplate. Yes, he's an athlete. He's been at the games. He's been number 4. Now, this very well may be his last year that he wants to compete to go to the CrossFit Games for a couple of reasons. One of them being to train and have this supreme focus, like Fraser just detailed, is a lot. He's missed out on a lot with family, with friends, with just, enjoying things. It takes a toll, and so there is that. So this very well may be his last year competing. And I would be the first to tell him, if that is the case, if you are no longer training to go to the CrossFit Games, then your athletic days are over. Your days of identifying as an athlete are over.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's okay. That is A-okay. And so again, I want to go back and quote what Fraser said, because it's worth mentioning. I'm ready to make decisions based on how they affect my family, friends, health, and happiness. Athletes don't care about family, friends, health, and happiness. They care about points, prizes, podiums, and pain. Speaking to the pain thing real quick, if you get banged up in the course of exercising, which, how ridiculous is that notion, by the way, that exercise would hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay? If that idea, or if that actually happens, you strain your shoulder, your leg, your knee, your hip, your ankle, your elbow, whatever it is, we've all had something happen, right? Probably. And if that gives you cause for concern that, I'm not going to work out, or I'm going to take 2 months off or 6 months off, you are not an athlete. Athletes don't do that. They are still looking to get better. They are looking for not the 1%, the 0.01% gain that they can make. Even in the midst of rehabbing or coming back from injury, they are still training. You know how many sessions he's missed because his shoulder's been banged up for a while? 0. Never.
You and I have talked about this at length before, but I started questioning this a few years ago, actually not long after I got my level 1, maybe 1 or 2 years after. In the level 1, they teach that every person falls along a continuum, a sickness, wellness, and fitness continuum.
Yeah.
And ideally, they teach that everybody, like a games athlete, Fraser, he is going to be at the peak of that fitness continuum, right? And so a bunch of different metrics fall in this fitness continuum. Resting heart rate, blood pressure, blood triglyceride levels,
Body fat percentage, weight, BMI, all these things,
a lot
bone
of it is
density.
biometric markers or biomarkers. And I started questioning, I'm like, man, you have all of these games athletes that are supposed to be the fittest people in the world. They're supposed to be in the best shape out of all of us, right? But they're out for injuries 2 months out of the year, especially after competing at the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or competing at the Super Bowl, right? Because now they're getting rehabbed until they start practice in June, and then start the season in August. If you're an NFL player, or whenever they start practice. And it's like, that's the pinnacle of fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody pushing their body so hard that they're injured.
Right.
A percentage of the year. What's fitter, what's healthier, what's weller, if that's a word, is being able to have lower resting heart rate, lower blood pressure, lower blood triglyceride levels, because that stuff's still important, but being able to get out of your car and not have your hip or your knee banged up, being able to get out of bed, being able to, I think I said to you once, garden for an hour.
Yeah.
And not be like, man, my lower back is really fried from all that hinging, from all that bending over I did while gardening.
Right.
Like, that's way more fit to me than being able to snatch 315, but you have a back brace on, right?
Right.
Or you're seeing a chiropractor or a physical therapist for 9 months out of the year.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it from a long-term vision standpoint. I'm sure everybody has seen, retired basketball players or football players, walking around. If you haven't, just YouTube it or Google it or something. You gave the best description yesterday about basketball players. They look like they're walking around with glass knees.
They're walking around carefully.
Yeah. Like, if they slip and fall, that might be the end.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is in their mid-30s to 40s. Don't even look at the ones that are up in their 60s or 70s if you can find them.
Right.
That's not a healthy pursuit. But there's a stark difference. And I want to circle back to something that you said, and this isn't a popular topic. I was on a call yesterday with about another 120 coaches from around the world. Been doing it every Tuesday, and the guy who was leading the call has trained numerous games athletes, and he said, most of these people that I've worked with don't ever want to share this publicly, and he didn't say any names. He goes, but we've looked under the hood, meaning that they've done blood work and all the testing and everything, like internally, not just taking heart rate. But he said that when you put their labs, their under the hood markers up against, people that you would, from a outward appearance say that, oh, they are sick and diseased, you cannot tell a difference in their blood markers.
That's scary.
And these are the people that are the quote unquote fitness influencers, on social media, that have got all the abs and seemingly perfect lifestyle. That's a farce. There is a cost that is paid to be like that. And it is not, the supreme fitness is not tied closely with health. It is right next to sickness.
And not to go too far down this rabbit hole, but say you do see someone with the 4% body fat that's eating right, and really they're eating right 110% of the time, right? And they're working out twice a day, and they might look like you said that pinnacle, but when underneath the hood they're not. These people are also making sacrifices. Like, Josh, you told me you had pizza for dinner the other night. Was it good?
Yes, it was delicious.
Do you regret having it?
Not one bit.
And you're not like, say Mandy and the kids are like, let's get pizza. It's like, now that if you weren't having any pizza at all, now you've just introduced a little bit of stress in your life because you have to be the guy that's like, no, I'm not going to eat the pizza. It's like, there are sacrifices that have to be made to look like and perform like the pinnacles of athleticism, health, fitness.
Yeah.
And if you are not ready to say, you know what, it's Friday night, I'm going to be in bed at 7:30, I'm not going to eat the pizza or the burger or go out for drinks with my wife or go out for a date night or whatever.
Right.
Like, you're not an athlete.
Right.
But you're saying Jay has done that, so he's earned the title.
Yes.
When you can see that by the jersey on the walls and the old games footage if you want to go look that up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm the first to say that I, in the past, have referred to anybody that works out here as an athlete, and I'm here to tell you it's not right. I'm mature enough to admit that that was a mistake, and that it probably does more harm than good for people to have that mindset of an athlete. And trust me, I know all the ideas and arguments for that. Oh, well, we want them to think that they're, not diet and exercising, that they're training and fueling. Yeah, but then every single, if the filter that you're running things through is what would the athlete do, you're going to be supremely disappointed, because you will not do all the things that the athlete does to look and perform like you think that you are eventually going to do. And so and I know that it's like, oh yeah, but it's just the mind. I'm telling you, you are setting yourself up for failure. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that.
And athlete and fit are mutually exclusive, right? So it's
Yes.
you can be fit. You can still be a really fit person, which is an amazing title,
Yeah.
right? You can still be a fitness enthusiast and not be an athlete, and that's okay.
Yeah. So baseball is actually the toughest sport, statistically speaking, to become a professional in. So it's like, of high school baseball players, 1%, make it to the next level, like get drafted, or make it to college. 1% of college. 1% of people that go into AAA go to AA, so on and so forth. So the percentage the percentage of the general population that actually become professionals. Not as in I was in the minors or I did a stint, in single A or double A or triple A or anything like that. I'm talking like what they call the big show, right? I was on a 25-man roster, like my dad, professional baseball player, pitched in the World Series. Like that level, that percentage is so small. That's the percentage of people that, are athletes that get that title. So why is that the beacon?
Because it's cool. Because it's cool.
Yeah.
Which means we probably have to define what cool is.
And to just circle back to what we were talking about towards the beginning, is it does, I think, truly come down to intentions.
Yeah.
Do you intend on striving to be the best of the best? Not in exercising, I don't. But in being and this is my case, right? A disciple of God, a great father, and a great husband. Like, if I can do those three things right, like, if I beat you on another 5K trail run again,
Whatever.
45 seconds, however long, I mean, it felt like 10 minutes before you crossed the line, but,
Whatever. What was your time?
24:38. You were 20.
Alright, so
you might as well
34
30
seconds you got.
Were you 30 minutes?
Nah, I was like, 48 minutes.
So, if anyone has questions about that, or would like to, share their thoughts, I'm open to it. So please do that. So let's move on. Question number 2.
It's funny, like looking at question number 2 and how ironic it really is. It's
Right.
like because we just talked about all these things, and being an athlete and whatnot, and who's an athlete, is Jay an athlete? How do you get better at movements like pull-ups and toes to bar? How do you get better at these high-skill athletic movements?
Well, I mean, you throw the term athletic in there, but I wouldn't say
I'm just
that it
being a
is.
jerk.
Yeah. First, you talk to your coach, come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Number one is you need to be very clear on what your goal is. So if I say a pull-up, great. If I get you to a pull-up, if you look to your left and your right and those people are doing multiple pull-ups, are you going to be disappointed? Because that wasn't the goal. So be very specific. Because if you say, I want to do 10 pull-ups in a row without having to come off the bar or re-grip or double swing or anything like that, and I want to be able to do that within the year. Well, if you're at 0 right now, as a coach, I would say that's not realistic. End of story.
Yeah.
And I would tell you why and go over the biological and physiological processes and strength to weight ratio and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I say you need to actually talk to a coach, because what a coach offers is the time and space to have the conversation to figure out, no, let's actually pinpoint something that makes sense for you, the resources that you have, the time dedication, all that kind of stuff. So let's say that we establish a great goal. The next thing that we need to do is know where you're starting from. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far, but this is why I hate, with almost every fiber, and that's such a strong word, with almost every fiber of my being, like online templated training programs. Does it provide something for you to do? Yeah. Is it going to be the best way, which I believe in, that's my belief in fitness, is that my duty is to give you the best solution to your problem. Like, nobody is going around, there's a great Seinfeld bit about this. I'm sure Justin will tell me that I got it wrong or something. Nobody's going around asking, like, has anybody got a doctor that you can refer me to? I'm not looking for the guy that made A's. You got like a good D+ or C doctor? I'm looking for just good enough. No. Everybody wants to go to the best. They want the best solution to their problem.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody says, hey, my car sounds kind of funny. You got a guy in the back of the garage that just is okay. No, you want your problem solved to the best of somebody's ability. Same with our belief in fitness. My duty, my belief is to provide you the best solution to your problem. And general templates don't do that. So, give it the coach, we get a goal, then we figure out what your starting point is, and then we can decide on, what it needs to look like. Now, in this case, we're talking about upper body pulling strength. So number one is you got to be strong enough to do it. You got to be strong enough to do it once, then you got to be strong enough to recover and adapt from it. Another word for adapt, if you think of it like this, is to grow. So a stress has been... Hello?
Saying hi.
Hey, Steph.
Hi. I was listening on the drive home.
Oh, nice. We have a guest.
Yeah.
I'm talking about getting better at movements on the rig, like pull-ups and twist bar.
Oh, nice.
We were talking about this the other day.
Awesome. Cool. All right, just saying hey.
Okay. Okay, so number one, you got to be strong enough. Number two, you have to be able to recover and adapt from it, i.e. grow. So here's the problem. If you put too much stress on the body, meaning you do too many reps that you are able to recover and adapt / grow from, you are actually going to go backwards.
Yep.
Or you're just going to keep bumping up against the same ability to just continually do one. So you have to have a plan that does that. When it comes to things like pull-ups and toes to bar, you can't just bang your head against the wall and continue to try to kip away, and do one, drop down, or double kip and do another. If you only practice singles, you're only ever going to get good at singles. So in the context of a workout, if something that has 10 reps per round come up and you do 10 singles, I guarantee you're never going to get better than doing singles, ever. But again, the question I'm sure in a lot of people's heads is like, okay, I could do one. How do I get the ability to do two? A lot of strict, absolute strength work for your upper body. Also recognizing that, and this is just biology and physiology, right? Is the lighter that you are, the easier it is to pull yourself up, right? Upper body strength is just one of those things that if, let's just say for a given 150-pound individual, if you could do 2 pull-ups and I suddenly put 20 pounds on you, you go from doing 2 to probably 0 because of the extra weight. So you got to have a certain amount of strength to weight ratio as well. But again, how can you mitigate that? Let's just say all things being equal, your weight doesn't change. You have to be stronger. Could be grip strength. It could be core strength. It could be scapular strength, lat, arms, shoulders. But again, the way to figure that out is to get assessed. Then get a plan that is designed specifically for that goal for you.
Not only that, but also I like how you brought up these things are going to be easier when you're lighter. And at the same time, you're going to need to build the strength to do it. Both of those things are primarily accomplished, well, one, through the training as you detailed, but through nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know how to lose weight while maintaining or gaining strength, chances are you probably need to talk to a coach. Because if you don't know the portion sizes, if you don't know the macronutrients, if you don't know all the ins and outs of nutrition that goes into accomplishing a goal like that, a goal meaning leaning out while gaining strength, you need to talk to a coach.
And that's actually really challenging. It can be done. They're not mutually exclusive. A lot of belief is out there that, if I lose weight, I'm going to lose muscle mass or I'm going to lose strength. If you do it the standard American way, where I starve myself, yeah, you're going to waste away the muscle that you have.
Yeah.
So to gain strength and lose body fat percentage takes, let's just say all things being relative and equal. If you just want to lose 10 pounds, let's say you can lose 10 pounds in 3 months. In order to lose that, but also maintain or gain some muscle, you're probably looking at a process that's closer to 2 years. And again, that's just a generalization.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be different, but it's not like, oh, well, this was 3 months, so I should be able to do the maintain strength and lose the body fat in 3 months. No. That's not how the body works. You can't do that. Sorry, I feel like I've been doing a lot of the talking about, the last 2 questions. I didn't know if you had anything else to add.
It's good, man. I've jumped in where I felt necessary. I know these are questions, especially the first one, that you feel very strongly about, and I'd rather you go and answer it. So, synopsis, quick summary is: how do you get better movements on the rig, like pull-ups and toes bar? Talk to your coach.
Yep.
You need a plan individualized for you.
Yes.
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 That's about it.
Yeah. You need again, our belief is the path to your goal that we are going to give you is the best path. You might find success with others. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I want to give you the best possible crack at getting to your goal. We're going to put the time and effort and the care that should be given to coaching somebody. And a big part of that, as people probably gleaned a little bit from the conversation that we had earlier about Jay, is a big component of that is a relationship. That's what coaching is. Coaching is really the bridge between where somebody is today and where they want to go down the road. And another word for that is a relationship.
So when you take the coach out of the equation with like a templated program, you're taking that bridge out.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you're standing on either side of where the bridge would be and just looking at your goal, and you're like, I could get there if I sprint and jump really, really hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the bridge makes it so much easier. despite it maybe being a little bit slower.
Not only that, but it gives, if the coach does their job, it provides clarity. And I just had this mental image as you said the bridge part, like if you take the bridge away versus you put it there, it's like, okay, now I can see that this is where I'm going and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm clear, and like we're going to have these little checkpoints, and that's why we're meeting with people on a monthly basis and following up with them, and the daily interactions that we have is, there's all these things so that when life, as life does, pushes you a little bit to the right, the coach is there to kind of get you back in line. Not to pull you and not to hold your hand, but to kind of walk alongside you and be your guide more than anything.
I mentioned, just a couple of seconds ago, I said despite the bridge maybe being a little bit slower. What I mean by that is that in the long, it's kind of a tortoise and hare situation. So the bridge isn't there. You're running and sprinting and jumping to cross this gorge.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are you're gonna fall off the cliff, right? So in the pursuit of your goal, you're gonna fall off the cliff, i.e. injury, something gets in the way, you can't keep up with the program. The bridge is insured. But you might stop and say, look at the waterfall off the side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, look down there. Okay, wait, I dropped my phone. I got to go back on that bridge a little bit, right? So, there's things, but that's what the bridge is there for, so you can do that.
Yep.
I think I'm taking the analogy too far, but I hope people are understanding.
I like that. That's good.
What that means.
Tina makes a good point. She said the only people who can pretty much do that are people who are obese or just starting to work out. And she's talking about the idea of like losing body fat and maintaining strength. Yeah, to a certain degree, I would say that people who are just starting to work out, really what's happening is they're actually not, adding muscle mass. They're just getting the neurological connections. Like the brain is teaching the muscles how to actually turn on and fire and lift this weight.
Yeah.
So that they're not, and their training age is so small that you could tell them like, hey, just curl this kill cliff can 15 times, and it's going to appear as if they're getting stronger, but really all that's happening is it's like you're plugging in, the muscle into the power source, right? It's like, oh, we're making this connection, and this is how that motor control is what we would actually term it in technical terms, but yeah, that's actually what is happening is that intramuscular coordination is being developed.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. I know we got one more, and I do want to hit this one. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, this will be a real fun one.
This was stemming from a conversation after the workout today. So I'll ask it, and I'll let you answer so that I can take a breather.
Okay.
What is harder, doing 15 calories on the C2 bike erg or 15 calories on the C2 rower? Which one is harder?
Man, this is no dig at who asked it, although we could probably dig on this person and he wouldn't care. But I hate this question because what is harder, doing 15 cows on the bike or the rower? And my answer is, everyone will be so shocked. It depends. Also, my answer is, how do you define harder? What are we defining? What is harder to you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we asked that question, and the person came back with, okay, well, what's taking more energy? And when you are saying, okay, 15 calories on the C2 bike erg or 15 calories on the rower, calories is a unit of energy.
Energy expenditure, right.
Energy expenditure. So when you say, okay, well, what is harder? So what's taking more energy? Well, you're spending the same amount of energy if you're doing 15 calories on one or 15 calories on the other. The body parts in use might be different. So you might be feeling it at different body parts on the C2 bike rather than the rower, which I guess is the answer. But when it comes down to it, okay, well, is it harder on my arms and my legs and my lower back, or just my legs on the bike? The answer is still, it depends. And now it's very dependent on who the person is using
Right.
it. Because I know someone like, I'm trying to think of somebody really, really good on the bike. Someone like Mark James, right? Like super,
James.
yes, James you owe me a cookbook. Mark James, who's super aerobically inclined, like physiologically, the muscles in his legs are extremely efficient at. Really, he's a great rower too. So
I was just thinking the same thing. Like he's a phenomenal rower
yeah,
too.
his body physiologically, the muscles in his body are so good at utilizing oxygen
Yeah.
that right now rowing's probably going to be easier for him to get those 15 calories than on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
But you put Mark James on a bike program, right, or
Right.
after he talks
Right.
to his coach, after
Right.
for 3 months, right, the bike's going to be a little bit easier for him. But it's totally dependent on the person. I would say, based off of what we do in here, most people have way more rowing exposure than they do on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to feel more comfortable on the rower, which is going to make it seem easier to accumulate those 15 calories.
Right.
So if you're asking me what's harder, I would say it's probably going to be the biker, but only because of what you just told me, or what you just said on the mic, that we haven't plugged the muscles in enough. You know, not enough muscles are plugged in to, like, so again, someone who's even has a training age of like 4 or 5 years might be able to hop on the bike and do 15 calories in a minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next week they can do it in a minute.
Right.
Right? So they're just getting way more exposure, more training age, more comfort on that piece of equipment. But the answer is really, it depends.
Yeah, so you can't compare, and this goes for anything. It's funny, we just the comparison thing, we have a piece of decoration. Ooh, man, I couldn't even think of the word. We have a piece of decoration out there on the wall when you first walk in that talks about we won't be distracted by comparison if we're captivated with purpose. And the other one is, comparison is the thief of joy. But yeah, when you compare between individuals with regards to anything, it's a dead end because you just can't. And this is the fodder that goes on networks like ESPN when they're comparing the greatness of one athlete to another or somebody like that. So it's a losing proposition any which way you look at it when you compare two people. But this is specifically talking about two different machines. So you have to take it on a person by person basis. What if in trying to compare two people to say like, oh well, you're on the bike and I'm on the rower. Okay, well, you on the bike, what if you only have one leg and I only have one arm? Rowing suddenly got a lot harder for me and biking suddenly got a lot harder for you.
Yeah.
So if we switch and I'm on the bike and you're on the rower, what happens then? So that's like one little thing, that needs to be taken into consideration. And that's trying to just paint the picture between two people. But again, you can't even do that. So you have to stick with, one person. The intramuscular coordination is a big one. The other thing is there is way more happening in terms of sequencing of movements and muscles and coordination on the rower than there is on the bike. So then it could be, well, then that would make sense that the rower is going to be harder. But then, what is the most powerful part of the rowing stroke? Is when the legs drive out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Well, the rowing stroke, there is only, you're only actually working for half the time that you are on that thing. Because as you're going back in, you're not generating energy. The bike, on the other hand, you're generating energy all the time.
All the time.
With the most powerful part of what we said was powerful on the rower. So then it's like, okay, well then, is the bike easier? Because you're generating power the whole time. And again, there is no answer. It depends. Here's the next part. So let's say that all of those things are equal. Well, what is your ability to flush blood, out of the muscles that are exhausted back through the lungs to reoxygenate and get it back out there? Your stamina, your endurance capability. Is rowing / biking a more muscular endurance or a muscular strength activity for you? Meaning, are you going to get out of breath first, or are your muscles going to get so full and tired that you just can't move anymore? Which one of those? Because that depends too.
Right.
That's why you can't just give an answer to say, oh, well, if you did this and he did that, well, he had an easier time getting those cows done, or he had a harder time getting those cows done. You can't. It's you as the coach pick what is right for the person based on their intention and what stimulus or dose response you want to get out of the workout.
Right. A lot of the things that we talk about, if it's a this or that question, chances are the answer is going to be it depends. And if there's an actual answer to it, then there's probably going to be a very specific answer.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be very specific. So for example, like what's easier, a front squat or a thruster? If they're at the same weight and it's the same person doing it, it's probably going to be the front squat, right? Because we know that the arms are about, yada, 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 right? But if it's a this or that, like with a biker or a rower or two different pieces of equipment or two different movements or whatever.
Here's the other consideration, and I'm jokingly saying this because of Tina was the last person to comment. What if you have an innate fear of getting on and off the rower?
Right?
Or you fall off. Like, then the rower just became infinitely harder for you. For no other no reason that we just discussed except for that.
Yeah.
That's a memory that you have, right? And
Yeah.
this is just a tongue in cheek, but like that's a very real thing too. She says rude. You know I love you, Tina. But that's another reason why context and nuance matters.
Also movement mechanics.
Yeah.
Say you row awesome, but on the bike you just are so sloppy. Right? It's gonna make a difference. So there's so many factors that go into play that you can't just answer, okay, yep, it's the biker.
Yeah.
Or yep, it's the rower.
And are we talking about one thing of 15 cows, or are we talking about 8 rounds of it?
Yeah.
Okay, is it 8 rounds? How much rest? Is it 8 rounds? I don't get any rest, and I'm also doing some other movements with it? Because that matters too.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry we don't have an answer other than to say it depends on
Yeah.
the person and the intention.
I even provided an answer. I was like, it might be the biker, but that's only because this, and that. But even still, it's gonna totally like Mark. I'd like to see Mark test this out. It's like, okay, let's do both max effort separated by 10 minutes of rest.
Right.
So.
All right. That's it for today.
That is it.
We gotta run.
You got a heart out.
That's right.
Guys, thank you for listening. If you are listening, thank you for watching. If you are watching, as always, leave a 5-star written review. This is episode number 34. And
34. 64.
Oh, 64. Whoa. I think I read a 3. Yep, episode number